I'm sure everybody who's done a project knows that when you have project creep, it takes you down and you lose momentum. I was going to do a really simple thing, and that was to install a battery in the Honda motorcycle. I have fresh gas for it and get it running because that's all I needed. Well, that's not quite all I needed. So yeah, I got it running. Everything was running just great, and then the fuel started leaking. Um, so I had to drain the fuel tank. I have a new diesel can here, so I dumped fuel in that and got the tank set aside, pulled the valve off, and it's got a really unique valve to it. This is the area that had the little dial switch on it where you could adjust your fuel, basically with this little guy right there. And you could say, oh, well, that's off. Here's on. And then there's a reservoir position. Now the dip tube, basically, so when you run your fuel to here, because there's not a fuel gauge on a motorcycle, so when you run your fuel to here, when the bike stops, you know you're down to your reserve. And so when you switch over to your reserve, so normally you'd be in the on position here. Like here's your indicator over here at like 9 o'clock. And if you're running, the bike stops, then you know you're out of gas. And so then you'll turn it all the way around and activate your reserve. And then it'll start sucking fuel from down here in the tank instead of at the very top. And this gives you enough, maybe half a gallon of fuel, to find a gas station. It's not exact science. So basically, when she starts sputtering, you flip to reserve and you go buy gas like right now. So this gasket right here is bad. And it's not terrible. I could clean it up. And but you know, look, see, it's got some cracks and stuff in it. So, and I looked around and you cannot find this kind of a segmented valve. It's got a fuel vacuum here that's used so that when there's too much fuel in the system, it'll go into an evaporator canister so it doesn't go in the environment, which is great. But they don't stack them like one over the other anymore. So if you look at it in the fuel tank here, it goes in right here. And so your little fuel dial switch would be right here, and there's your little indicator arrow. So they don't make this anymore. And you can't find it. There's a little screen in there, but you could see that these ports right here on the back are connected so that everything connects up. Now there's a big diaphragm in here, and I opened that up. It looks really good. So I'm going to flush this out and clean it up with some carb cleaner. And so I got a new, today I had to spend time on the internet shopping. I swear I'm like a professional shopper trying to find stuff. And I found a kit. Now the problem is that these little bolts right here are basically like a rivet. And so it's molded into that soft alloy. And then they just mash it down kind of like a rivet. So I took my little mini belt sander and I just sanded them off, and I popped off the cover here, which is this guy, and pulled out the guts inside. And so the kit comes with a new gasket to go around here and a new gasket here as well. And then we will not leak fuel from here, and we will still have a stock vintage motorcycle, which I think is worth the hassle of the rebuild. I can buy some kits that are configured differently that do the same thing, but don't go to this bike. They're Honda 700 cc's, yes, but it's not the same. And I think for a vintage bikes, it's a good idea to keep things original when you can, you know, if it's reasonable. So I found a kit, and what I will do is I'll just actually grind these down all the way, and then I'll drill them out with a hole, and we'll put some self-tapping screws in there to put that cover back on and put it back together. And she ought to run another, hell, you know, 40 something years. So she runs great though. I mean, this bike is a champion. She just runs so well. Sorry you have to look at her like this, but she is for sale because I need boat parts. And I made a deal with Past Deb that if I was going to buy a sailboat, I had to let go of some things. And one of the things I have to let go of is this Honda. And I actually told myself that I couldn't buy a sailboat until after I had sold the camper, the ski boat, and the Honda. And I broke the rules. I bought a sailboat anyway. And I really don't want to sell this bike. I've had this beautiful little Honda for, man, I don't know, like 30 years now, 35 years. It's a great little bike, but I don't ride it. You know, I bought it at 9,500 miles. It's got 1,250, so I've put, 3,000 miles on it in 30 years, so it doesn't get used. And it's here from Oregon, Fred's Honda. Look, it doesn't even have an area code. That's how old this is. But yeah, she everything works great, just as usual. She's ready to go, except I got a fuel leak. Wonk, wonk, wonk. So, dang it, I'm on hold for parts. She needs a bath, but she's been sitting. Yeah, so crud. I mean, it's cool because I've got a shop manual, which really didn't show me anything. And once I realized that off the internet that I could get a kit to rebuild this area, that's what made the determination to go ahead and rebuild it instead of buying a newer setup, which has this diaphragm just on the backside, different design. But, at the end of the day, this look on the front is part of what you notice about this bike. That you're going to see this set underneath the fuel tank, and you can see it right in through here. It's just part of the look of the bike. So I know it's stupid and it's petty, but if you're going to deal with a vintage product, I think you got to make an effort like this to keep it original if you can. You can't always do it, but I have the knowledge to do this shit, so I'm going to do it. And there's a little mesh screen right there. Fortunately, that's not screwed up. That would have been my real limiting factor, that and these rivets. But I decided that we're good. So now we sit and wait, because I got about 10 days until parts land. So despite the fact that I was going to make a video with this roaring bike, because she does that, man. She's just like fire and fury underneath you. Real little crotch rocket. I mean, I just love this bike. 700 cc's of just go fast, go now. Boom! She is a wizard. Woo! Boy, yeah. So, now we hold for parts. Ta-da! Damn it. I wanted to get something done today, but at least I moved this forward, because at the end of the day, I would have discovered this later. And now that I know it, and I don't have a buyer right here, it's a good thing, because I can get this put together before I show it and put a video up. But yeah, that's what I did today. Shop for parts and diagnose problems. Yay! Well, thank you, Honda. Unfortunately, the manual didn't do me a damn bit of good, but yeah. We'll get this girl up and romping here pretty quick and get her going. She's just such a great bike, though. I'm just so stoked. Such a great bike. So, yeah, time to get her out of here and you know, maybe buy a chart plotter with this.
Yeah.